All right. Hello, 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 hello. Welcome to another Grit and Grime basketball podcast. I am your host, as always, alongside the guys, Thomas Arnal.
Yeah.
And
Almost.
Jose Garcia Vidal.
Yo.
No.
With those engines. All right. We've got a special short episode for you today, guys, and that is our look at the 2021 Hall of Fame inductees. Lots of people inducted, as always. It's the first year, I believe, ever to have two classes inducted in the same year. 2020 was done earlier this year, and then this lovely crop of basketball amazings were inducted at the weekend. So I'm just going to run off the list. We have Val Ackerman, Coach Rick Adelman, Chris Bosh, Bob Dandridge, Cotton Fitzsimmons, Howard Garfunkel, Yolanda Griffith. Isn't it weird how names have changed over time?
Right.
Lauren Jackson, Clarence Jenkins, Tony Cucoch, Pearl Moore, Paul Pierce, Bill Russell again as a coach this time, Ben Wallace, Chris Webber, and Jay Wright. It's Coach Jay Wright. So I guess I don't even know who we should start with. Maybe we should start with Ben Wallace, since he is someone that we spoke about recently. And I guess he's not really like the others, maybe save for Bob Dandridge, who was also known as a great defender for the most part. Ben Wallace, undrafted, made his way into multiple All-Stars, and now he is a Hall of Famer. What do we make of it?
Very, very deserved, well-earned, an amazing career that, was, as you just said, he was known for his defense and for his hustle. He wasn't the greatest scorer. He just was this massive dude with lots of muscles, but he wasn't massive enough to fight against the other big centers at the time. So just think that he had to guard Shaquille O'Neal one night, the next night Alonzo Mourning, Dikembe Mutombo, and someone, David Robinson, right? Tim Duncan, and we can keep naming big guys. So I think it's super valuable. I heard his speech, it was in the end, it was also quite political, which I think is fantastic. He can be. Talking about equality and, Panthers March, that's what he said. Loved it. Well deserved. I think it's great when it's not only the obvious people that get, in the Hall of Fame.
Absolutely.
Because to be honest, I wouldn't have thought that he would get in, if I'm completely honest. So I think it's really cool.
Well, it's going to be my favorite inductee of all time, because it's all about defense. So if you look at his averages, he's averaging below 6 points a game, but it's almost 10 rebounds a game and two blocks a game, right?
Yeah.
And 4 times NBA Defensive Player of the Year, 4 times All-Star, and a bunch of other accolades. Also on the cover of 2K5 back in the day.
Hey, I didn't know that.
Which is extraordinary in itself, right?
Yeah.
What are the
but I think for the
getting on today?
The looks of him, I think that's what stood out as well. Not only because he was a monster on defense, but do you remember
the iconic throw?
Afro. Was he the Afro on home games, and then
Platts
Rose?
Maybe. I don't know if was.
I remember hearing this back then.
It's great for me.
I
love that he's you get a defensive guy, because there's always been the argument of getting all the guys. Like you had to average 20 something a game to get in, and I think there's a lot of people that I think that the lowest bar to get in nowadays is Mitch Richmond. It's like no titles, only averaging 18 a game, something like that. Probably more, I think. But for people, it was always the thing of, Mitch Richmond's got in, so if you've got a better career than Mitch Richmond, you can get in too.
Yeah.
sort of the weird way of looking at it, but I'm quite glad just for the fact that he's under 6 points a game career wise. But then again, he represented that era of super tough NBA teams and big defense, and he was the face of Detroit at some point. I think he was ahead of everybody else. Like you knew who he was you knew who they were because of Ben Wallace. So well deserved, I think. Yeah,
for sure. Just iconic. He embodied the era of games being 75, 67. Like they were locking dudes down back then. There was still hand checking and there was zone defense. So everything was in the defenders. Everything was in the defenders' favor. But yeah, man, good times. Iconic player for sure. And got his ring. Won championship, right? Wasn't mentioned, but 04 came away with his ring. We then move over to Chris Webber.
Yes.
One of my favorite players to watch. Yes. Big man with guard skills, handle, could dribble, grab the rebound, run the fast break. Excellent passer in the half court. Yeah, great mid-range shot. And could score down low as well. Maybe he should have had a title in 02, some people say, but hey.
Some of them are me.
But also an iconic college career, and I think that's the only reason his faux pas in college is the only reason it's taken this long for him to be inducted. Weirdly, only 5 All-Stars, but 5 All-NBAs, so you could tell like when his peak hit, basically. But then he had that injury in 03, 04. The knee injury, which today wouldn't have been anywhere near as debilitating as it was for him. But that pretty much not ended his career, but ended his prime as we knew him. Another great player, man.
Good player, deserved as well. Yeah,
it's funny to think that he was on the Sixers. I don't remember that at all.
At one point, I think it was 1 or 2 years, but
2 seasons,
it was like declining already. Yeah,
that was just after the injury.
That's after the injury.
Yeah, Peja Stojakovic took off, and then they traded him. And basically built the team around Peja, and then and then they traded him to the Sixers, and he just wasn't the same player after the injury.
It's I'm quite happy that he's in now, because he should have been inducted a long time ago. Just because of what he did in college, obviously, but then what he also did in college is why he never got in before that. And I'm in a weird way, I don't understand why the NBA itself would be looking at it going, I don't know. It was such a weird one, that one.
It's not the NBA Hall of Fame. It's the Basketball Hall of Fame.
It's the Basketball Hall of Fame. You're right.
It is the Basketball Hall of Fame, indeed. Yeah.
But it's largely
NBA
based,
dominated.
NBA dominated. It's largely based off their careers they have in the NBA. Yeah. I mean, unless you got a massive international player
like Oscar Schmidt, for example, Brazilian.
But I don't know, because I've watched countless documentaries about what happened to him in college, and I'm like, every time I'm looking at it, I'm like, okay, it's very gray.
He was 19 years old, man.
He's 19. I'm like, come on now, And I kind of get his point as well. It's like, but that's a debate we've had countless times as well about image rights and what players do to survive at the end of the
19-year-old coming from a very low resource family. So why wouldn't you do? I'd have done it. Like anybody who criticizes him would have done
it. And the craziest thing is, it's not that he did it; it's that they got caught. Because
everybody else did it.
Exactly. Right? There's so much of that stuff that has always gone on. It's just that they got caught. Like it's silly.
Yeah.
But
I'm trying to find a photo of him wearing the Sixers. Sorry.
I wonder if part of the reason why he was able to get in now is because the NCAA is relaxing the rules around image rights.
Very
And
likely.
it's kind of hypocritical to do that now, but still punish him for doing it before the rule change.
I think so. It might be linked. Not sure if it is, but it could be a partially the reason why. That is it.
Yeah, but he's in now. Great player.
It's just so weird that Sixers jersey doesn't go. It just doesn't work.
Yeah, no, I remember that well. I was starting to become like a hardcore fan around that time, so I remember it very well.
With Iverson. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Another failed Iverson sidekick.
Yeah.
Just one of many. And then we have Bill Russell, Coach Bill Russell this time. He's the fifth person to enter as a player and a coach. He was player coach, I think, on the 69 team? The Celtics, that is. And yeah, went on to coach a few championship teams, took over directly from Red Auerbach, who became the GM at that point.
Wasn't he a player coach?
Player coach from 66 to 69. Yeah,
66 to 69.
Crazy.
Okay, yeah.
Player coach.
And won multiple championships in that role. Yeah, it was just an extension of his playing career, right? Like we've spoken about his basketball IQ, his just relentless winningness. What I do wonder is, was he able to get 2 rings for each of those player coach championships?
You must do.
Which is maybe like an extra fancy ring, right?
Right?
A bigger ring.
Yeah. You should get 2.
Should go and ask him. Get him on the podcast and ask.
Just call him up. Bill.
Yo.
Bill.
Oh, it's pass his bedtime. Pass his bedtime.
But yeah, another great guy. A funny guy as well. And he's been a mentor to so many players around the league and just people as well. He's one of those iconic figures in the NBA. Again, did a lot for human rights and rights of the players back in the 60s and ever since as well. He was part of the Ali Summit. And he's lived 1,000 lives and all of them are amazing. Like I couldn't have any more respect for anyone as a human being or a player. He's arguably the GOAT, right? In a lot of ways.
He's in that top 10 most of the times. Yeah.
Well, it should be higher than top 10. It should be top 5 most of the time. But then it's hard. It's hard to compare.
Yeah. He was the first African-American head coach to win an NBA title with the Celtics in 68. What a guy. We move over to Tony Cucoch.
Yes.
TK.
What a player, man. What a player.
Go ahead, take it away.
Yeah, so he said in his speech that he got inducted by Michael Jordan. That was his choice, obviously. Teammate in the Bulls, won 3 championships with him. But he said that he thanked Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen for pushing him so hard and kicking his ass in the 92 Olympics. I think that's class right there, right? When we all saw the Last Dance and he kind of was bitching about it. But I think it's great, man. What a player, before he came to the Bulls, he was such a good player in Croatia. In Split, you could massive guy with guard skills. Yeah, could shoot the ball like anybody else, like as good as anybody. Clutch, a decent defender because he wasn't too athletic at the end, especially, but he was there. Good guy, good. Should have been inducted a while ago as well, but good player.
So just reading off his accolades: 3-time NBA champion, 95-96 Sixth Man of the Year, 93-94 All Rookie Team, 3-time EuroLeague MVP, and FIBA World Championships MVP as well.
That's enough, right?
In Europe as well, 3 times Final Four MVP.
That's enough.
No, he's yeah. If you look at all the trophies, I can like 3-time NBA champion, World Cup, World champion,
EuroLeague MVP, World champion,
Eurobasket MVP,
Eurobasket,
3 times EuroLeague champion, 3-time EuroLeague MVP.
There you go.
EuroLeague Final Four MVP, NBA Sixth Man of the Year.
And he's one of these guys that probably turned pro at like 15 or something like that, right?
He turned pro 17.
There you go.
Wow.
What else? It's so long, like Italian Cups, Italian blah blah. I remember him. I saw him played in France. I saw him a couple of times when he played in Italy just before moving to the Bulls in 92, 93. 2 games he played in France. It's just I remember like it just looked like a different type of player, like super long, super skinny, but moving like a cat. It was just weird. Super weird to watch. Especially like on court in front of you. Like, I remember my dad going, "Look, it's Tony Cucoch. Like, he's good." I was like, "Oh, he's good." Okay, cool. I think he ended up scoring like 40 or something. Anyway, and it's funny because he's part of those European players that came into the NBA still where American players were looking down at outsiders, and he had to prove himself. In a way, I think it's good because now there's a lot of European players that are going in like, I'm going to take over easy. Whereas he had to prove himself and prove that he could fit in and play on the same team with Scotty and MJ. So
he's one of those ones that had to graft so that now European players can come in and be overrated.
He's one of them,
right. So like, and that's not to say that they're not good, but now you can even get players that aren't that great come into the NBA. And just because they're European, it doesn't make a difference. No one goes, "Oh, he's European. He has to be the best of the best." No, they don't. Right?
Yeah, and there was always this stereotype of European player where, and you can still hear it on some commentators or from some commentators that
soft,
kind of soft, and they can all shoot, right? But they can't all shoot.
Exhibit A, Frankie smokes. He's neither hard or a shooter.
Right, so there you go. So it's not like all European players are the same, but there was a stereotype in the past up until like 5 years ago, I'd say. Now, but then you had, Nowitzki that breaks the mold. Ginobili, kind of European, Pau Gasol, Marc Gasol, Ricky Rubio,
Tony
Parker, right?
Doncic.
Teodosic, who didn't do too well. Doncic is like the best, in my opinion. He's going to end up being the best, obviously.
What's his face? The guy on the Sonics, Schrempf.
That's a Schrempf. Ooh, German, right?
German. Yeah. That was one that also changed the culture. He's part of that wave of players like Schrempf, Kukoc, Divac as well.
Divac was amazing.
Drazen,
Sabonis.
Let's not forget Drazen Petrovic.
Petrovic is probably the biggest one.
I would say he would have been the best player if he would have passed the one player.
No, I mean in terms of perception of.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Around the European players,
he fit the mold.
But even you had Dino Raja. I remember also Croatian. Another good player.
There's some fun players in there.
As I go through, I do not want to forget or miss out Yolanda Griffith, who had an amazing WNBA career. She's one of a rare few who won a WNBA MVP, a Defensive Player of the Year, and a Finals MVP, all in the same damn player. That is,
I remember her from Team USA.
Dominance. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think Team USA is when I've seen her a lot. If I'm not mistaken, she's from Team USA. I think either from the Olympics or the World Cup, Women's World Cup. Very strong, imposing type of player.
Yeah, and it's just dominance, right? Like that's the word that just comes to mind. Just physically dominant. And did everything, won everything that you could win. Amazing career. Gonna have to speed up a little bit. We've got Rick Adelman, coach of those Sacramento Kings,
champions,
advocate of the corner offense, From a coaching standpoint, I've always found that very, very interesting.
Was the Lakers as well, didn't he?
No, not that I know.
No?
I don't think so.
I'm thinking Rudy.
Are you thinking of Rudy T? Yeah. There was rumors about Rick at some point, but then I think the friction was too great between
fair enough.
Him and the organization. But yeah, he's the 9th winningest coach in NBA history, 2-time finals coach, 3-time All-Star game head coach, which meant that his team had the best record. Just coached a lot of wins, had an iconic coaching system, which relied on a lot of inside passing between the big men and the guards. So he had Chris Webber and Vlade Divac, who we've spoken about already. Amazing passes. And it was an amazing offense. I mean, anyone that watched, anyone that watched those 2000 to 2002 Kings can advocate that. Yeah, it was a pretty spectacular system.
Mike Bibby,
Stojakovic and Doc Christie and Bobby Jackson.
It was Mike Bibby's team. Just don't.
Yeah, what a player.
But yeah, Jason Williams as well.
Mike Bibby.
Wait, who?
MB. I should just say MB. You know who he is. Yeah.
All right. I think we'll leave it there, actually. Oh no, Bob Dandridge. We'll do Bob Dandridge just because I'm pretty sure he's on NBA 2K. And I know lots. Oh no, we haven't. There's more people. Sorry, my bad. I was scrolling through the list and I thought it was going to end.
You're missing a couple of important ones.
Yeah, right. So Bob Dandridge, teammate of Oscar Robertson, who presented him, one of the better players that the Big O played with in Milwaukee, won a championship there with him and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. He was a very good, obviously Oscar was the best all-round guard, but Dandridge was often his backcourt partner and could play a little bit of three as well. But he was a very, very good defender, but could do a bit of everything. So that's another great player that's finally been enshrined, right? I'm sure he retired like decades ago. And it's taken this long for him to get in, but that seems to be the theme this year. And that brings me to Paul Pierce. He was drafted number 10 overall, and had a great career, very high, as Tom has said, 20-point plus career average point scorer. He doesn't actually get credit for this, but he's one of the players that not carried the three ball, but was persistent in taking and making and attempting the 3-point shot. Right, he's an early advocate of the 3-point shot, and he's not really thought of as a shooter, even though we know he can make them. He was thought of more as a scorer. Finals MVP in 2008, I say through gritted teeth. Known also for his wars with LeBron when he was a Cav and then a Heat. And yeah, I mean, what can you say? Infamous for being attacked during his NBA career, but came through all of that adversity and was able to carve out a really good career for himself. And then respect for him for becoming a role player as well at the end, towards the end of that.
The Wizards and the Nets.
Yeah, accepting a smaller role and taking and making some big shots in that smaller role as well.
But he to me, he stay in my head. Like, he's always gonna be the guy that came through the same draft with Vince Carter, and there was always that war between Paul Pierce. I mean, at least growing up, to me, there was always this little thing between guys that pro Paul Pierce and pro Vince Carter, because they were so different, so very different type of players, but they were both very flashy in their own ways.
I think that we always, we always talk about how in the early 2000s, late 90s, early 2000s, there was like, it was like a big man dominated game, but I always remember that time as well as the 2s and the 3s that they were so good. Kobe, Paul Pierce,
Vince Carter,
Tracy McGrady,
Ray Allen.
Ray Allen. You had these really good 2 guards that they played well, and Paul Pierce was one of these guys that was a franchise player taking over from Antoine Walker on the Celtics. Getting really high, with the Celtics until in the playoffs. I mean, until they obviously got Garnett and Ray, and they managed to win the championship. But yeah, it was a really good player. Yeah,
I love that. I still have a jersey. I still have a Paul Pierce jersey somewhere in there. Triple XL. Back in those 90s, sorry, early 2000, where everything was quadruple XL, even if you're wearing an M.
I remember those times.
Yeah.
I miss those times. Everything was simpler.
Oh yes, granddad.
You know how much I pay for this water? A penny.
650. Oh.
650 pesos.
Pesos. Talking about good 2 guards, shout out to Bonzi Wells, part of the same draft. Man, that guy. Keon Clark.
Yeah, good player. Yeah, all these guys that you had wars with the Lakers in the playoffs, man. Chris Bosh.
Wait, Mike Bibby's from the same draft.
Oh my God, look at this guy.
You love Mike Bibby, don't you?
Hey, legend.
Funny Mike Bibby story. When Mike Bibby got signed at the end of his career, he got signed to the Heat as one of those veterans on the minimum, stand there, take a shot when the big 3 are getting double teamed, right? And then he said to them, "Oh, but I prefer to take contested threes. Like, I don't like open threes. I don't make open threes. I don't like them." And they were like, "Okay, whatever. You're like a 38% career 3-point shooter. You'll be fine. And then he joined the team, started missing all of these open threes, and they benched him forever. And that was it.
And then he played in the big 3 and got injured in the first game. He was looking massive as well in the big 3.
He's huge now, I've heard. Yeah,
but he injured his knee. I think he broke his ligament or something. Like, I'm like, okay.
Yeah, he's a coach though. I think he's a high school coach.
Yeah,
very smart guy. Yeah.
Yeah, but shouts to Mike Bibby, man.
Hey,
damn right.
We moved to Chris Webber. We did Chris Webber. Sorry,
no, we did
Chris Webber on the screen.
Chris Bosh.
You want Chris Bosh?
I was on the fence with Chris Bosh, man.
As a player, as a Hall of Famer?
As a Hall of Famer.
Huh.
You see, it's a weird one because he had to sacrifice so much being the third wheel on that team.
How good, and I'm going to say this out of my ignorance, how good was it before he joined the Heat? I can't remember him being this amazing player.
But he was a franchise player for the Raptors.
Was he?
Yeah, they won a division title there.
Okay.
He became a 2010 player, like right before he left. He got 2010. I think it was like 24 and 10 as well. And he was on that kind of trajectory where he was going to be it kind of similar to Chris Webber. Like, he was going to be an all-star every year. Well, he was an all-star every year already. And he was going to be like 2010, putting up numbers as a franchise player, making the playoffs every year on what wasn't a very strong Raptors team either.
That's fair. Yeah.
But, Atlantic Division, they only had to beat the Knicks, right?
That wasn't too hard.
And so he was on that kind of trajectory to where he was going to be like a bona fide franchise player, like unarguably. It's just that then he went there and had to sacrifice. And when he got there, I think part of why he got in so easy and so soon is because he's also a media darling and people like him.
And I guess his story, is such a good story. I mean, it's sad, but good story. He had to retire so young.
Yeah.
Right? So yeah, fair enough.
And he changed his game a lot when he went to Miami. It wasn't until it took a while though. I think it wasn't until the playoffs against the Celtics where something happened. I think someone was injured, so they played him at center, and he just stood out at the 3-point line. And it was like the first time we'd seen like an NBA team play 5 out. And
I do remember that.
He made like 3 threes. And back then, like a center making 3 threes was like, oh my God, my mind is melting. This is impossible.
Yeah.
And then from there, they sort of understood how they needed to play to get the best out of the team, and get the best out of him as well. And he wasn't like a great rim protector or anything, but what he did defensively in terms of flying around like he was a wing player, essentially, helped that team just have the most incredible swarming defense. And then also like his intelligence on defense, and then his screen setting, like his knowledge of angles. He was a very cerebral player. And then he had the outside shot as well, and a little mid-range high post game. He wasn't the biggest, but no, he was good. He was good. I think
he was good.
If you want to see him at his best, there should be highlights of a game where I think he dropped 40 on Dwight Howard, but it was like 16 shots. It was nasty, real nasty.
No, he was good. He was good.
Yeah, he was a Raptor then when he had that game as well. But yeah, it's a shame how his career ended, right?
Yeah, there's nothing.
Yeah, shame.
And he gave back Pat Riley's ring, right? He put the rings on the table.
I love that.
And Chris Bosh decided that now was the time to give it back to him. So he did that. So that's that. That ends our Hall of Fame section. We have some paid content for you. We've been making specials all summer. If you head over to our Linktree, I think it's linktree.com/Grit and Grime podcast, you can access that content for £1 each, video and audio. Once you pay, we'll email you the link. All right. And that's just to help us keep going, help us pay our bills, and help us keep giving you good content. So thank you for listening to this episode. Remember to like, share, subscribe, rate, and review the podcast wherever you listen. Tell a friend as well. There's nothing wrong with some good old word of mouth. And yeah, thank you for listening. I've been your host, David Sagoe, Thomas Arnal.
Help us pay the bill. Look, this computer switched off. I can't turn it on. I don't have electricity. Help me.
Turn off the lights as well. Make them think you're really Jose Garcia Vidal.
Bye-bye.
And we will catch you on the flip side. Deuces.